My mum once said to me, she said, you'll never make £1 million working for someone else. And I don't know why, but it just stuck with me. Running a startup, I would not recommend that to most people because you don't sleep much, you have no work-life balance, but equally, for me, it makes me feel alive.
Hi, I'm Hazel Savage, and this time our guest is Alex Brees, CEO and founder of Unheard Music, a platform that helps artists grow their fan base regardless of their marketing expertise. In this episode, we'll talk about the metrics that matter, personal branding and trademark style, and Alex tells us about the reality of pitching on Dragon's Den. Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Great. Now, obviously, I know who you are. Full disclosure for the audience, I'm on the board of directors for Unheard. But for those who don't know you, how'd you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Alex, I'm the founder of Unheard, and it's a good question actually. I've never been asked how I'd want to introduce myself, but how I typically introduce myself is I talk a bit about my background, so I came from the tech world as an analyst, so outside of the music industry. Then I pivoted to music because I was very passionate about that space. I had lots of friends that were artists, and when I wasn't working in music full time, I was always interested in what they were doing, I was going to watch them perform live, I would help put on events for them. So I was always very passionate about that space. So when I got the opportunity to combine my skill set, which was the tech side and the analytics side, with the music industry, I jumped at that, and I went and worked at Universal Music as an analyst. And when I joined there, I thought, this is my dream job. I'm set for life, But actually, I think what I found was that although it was an amazing experience, I'm forever grateful for that. What I wanted to do is have an impact, and I found it hard to do that at Universal Music. And so left Universal and went on this journey with Unheard, whereby, for the last 3 years, we've been building technology to empower artists. Our vision is to give all artists a fair chance of success on their own terms. And that's what we want to do. And so we built good technology that helps artists find their most valuable audiences across streaming and social media platforms. Like I said, with 3 years in, we've impacted about 115,000 artists. And I've got to meet amazing people like yourself and other investors on the journey. So that's a bit about me.
Bit about you. So actually, I don't know why, but for some reason, I thought you had a background as a DJ.
Well, I did a bit of that too.
Oh, did you? I've not just made that up.
No.
There's definitely a headshot of you where you are DJing.
Yeah, that's my WhatsApp.
So I think that I'd made up the entire backstory in my head based on that one photo.
Do you know what? It's with this passion for music, I also wanted to kind of create music or create mixes. Now, I wasn't patient enough to create music or talented enough to create music. But what I could do is I could mix 2 tracks together.
Nice.
So I started doing that whilst I was at university, and I did it with a friend. We went under the name, I'll say the name, Brees Box. His nickname was Boxy. Mine was Brees.
Boxy. Brees Box.
Yeah.
Right, got it.
And we had great fun. We played out quite a lot. We played out in under Hot Since 82.
What sort of genres are we talking here?
We were playing like techno and house music.
Techno and house music.
It's like quite clubby. And I did that for a few years, and it was great fun. But I think you get to a point where you're also working full time and you're DJing until 3 a.m. and it's too much. But it was great fun.
Yeah, no, it's the same when you're a rock musician. You go from like rehearsing twice a week and playing 5 gigs a week, and then if your career takes off, you can't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
and that's you. You were a rock musician.
Yeah. I've started introducing myself as a failed rock star.
Yeah.
Because it makes people go, oh, no, you're not, and I'm like, well, you've not heard me, so I am.
I still need to listen.
Oh.
I still need to listen to some of your music. You've got to send it.
I think it's quite a bit of it up on SoundCloud.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. I'll just check they're not all private tracks, but I'll send you a link if they are.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I did think you had more of a background, but I hear what you're saying as well about UMG, which is obviously the 3 major labels loom so large in our industry. However, the sort of the cycles of approval and the cycles of of risk and the risk appetite at the major labels. Did you feel like, even though it's the dream job when you get in with one of the majors, you just weren't able to push forward or be as experimental as you wanted?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's nothing to do with, I loved my experience there, and I met some great people there. And I think for some people, it is the perfect job. But I think also because I'd come from the startup world,
right,
and then prior to that I'd been quite entrepreneurial at university and tried to start a few businesses, because I had perhaps that spirit and that experience in me, which was like very fast paced and wanting to have an impact each day and do more than that was on your job description. it just wasn't a fit.
Yeah.
You know, and it was hard for me to then slow down and transition. And actually, interestingly, towards the end of my stint at Universal Music, I did actually manage to get into the groove a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel comfortable. It didn't sit well with me, you know. So
it's just a very different way of working, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not one's wrong and one's right, you know. But it just wasn't quite right for me at the time. But like I said, also forever grateful for that, because was able to work on campaigns for Katy Perry and Lady Gaga and Andrea Bocelli. So I'll never forget that experience.
Oh no, you can't beat the experience, can you? As well,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
And to be honest as well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
Because being able to talk about that when you're building your business, you know, lends credibility to then what you want to go on and
So
do.
what did you study at uni?
I studied physiology. So
Right.
totally different, essentially kind of human biology.
Right. But I thought this was going to lead into the analytics. I was like, it was a bit of a curveball.
Do you know what is? I studied physiology. My mum was a physics teacher. I enjoyed the sciences at university, at school. So I wanted to kind of continue that at university because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, I played a lot of sport, so sport was probably my focus, but was studying physiology. And what I found after I'd finished my course was that I wasn't very good at presenting.
Okay.
You know, you had to kind of create your thesis, do a project, and then present it to the class when I was studying. And I always hated the presentation side. And I would always like stutter and forget what I was saying, and my mind would go into overdrive.
Right.
So after uni, I was like, I need to work on that sales and presentation skill.
Right.
So I actually went and got a job in sales and marketing first.
Oh, right.
Where I was just pitching every day.
Yeah.
My boss gave me a car, a laptop and a notepad and was like, go and sell this product. And it was great. And I just went and sold and put myself in like stressful situations, I guess, at the time.
That really surprises me as well, because I would say pitching is one of your strengths and public speaking. So to hear that that's something that maybe didn't come naturally to you, that's a real surprise.
Yeah. And I still get anxious now. I wonder if you do, because I know you do a lot of presentations and I still get anxious beforehand now, which I'm getting more comfortable with and I'm taking it as a good thing because it shows that I care.
Yeah.
But, and I wonder if that ever goes. Like, does that ever go?
So I sort of feel like I'm the worst person to ask this question because I don't get nervous and it doesn't bother me. But I know that that's not common.
Yeah.
And I often really feel for other people that I share the stage with because I can really see the nerves sometimes. And actually, so I did a keynote in Edinburgh last week, and admittedly, I didn't realise how big the room was going to be. It was over 500 people and every seat was full. And I just thought it'd be a little chatty thing.
Yeah.
But I got up and did the keynote. And again, even as I walked in, the guy organising went, oh, I bet you're nervous, right? Yeah. And I was like, no. So I feel, I'm not the person to ask, unfortunately.
But I also enjoy it.
Right.
I would say like for the 2 minutes before I'm about to go on stage, I'm like, why have I done this?
What about the day before?
I used to be terrible.
Right.
Actually, now I'm okay the day before.
Okay.
I think just because I've managed to do it quite a few times now. But I'd say a few minutes before.
When you get there, you're like,
I'm like, why have I signed myself up to this again? What are you doing? And then during it, after 30 seconds, I'm okay.
oh, perfect.
And then afterwards, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
So I did the sales and marketing stuff for a while. And then I wanted to get into the tech industry. So I moved to London. I joined a company called CarWow, which is like an automotive tech company. Joined there early on in their journey and joined there as an account manager. And then I pivoted to the trading and the analytics world. You know, a guy joined CarWow called Alex Brees, who was from Google. He set up a trading function, essentially taking data from the pure data scientists and turning that into insight that would power the sales and marketing functions of the business. And I found that really interesting. You know, I'd started to be interested in data. It's kind of sciencey in a way. And I read a book called Dataclysm, which was written by the founder of OkCupid. And they collected so much data on people's behaviour and started to be able to pair people, you know, and make exact matches because they really understood how people thought. So then I joined the trading team at CarWow, and that was my first insight into using data to reduce uncertainty, really, was what we were doing.
And you obviously just felt that you had more of a knack for that. And you kind of, once you'd got into your first job in analytics, were you like, yeah, this is a good fit?
I think so. And what I really found was that you had the really smart people, you know, the pure data scientists who were great at processing, aggregating and, you know, creating those insights. But what was missing was the ability to translate that to the sales and marketing teams
100%.
who weren't on the same like page as the pure data scientists. So I think sitting in that space was something that I've felt was a unique skill set that perhaps I
Definitely.
had.
And it's a rare skill set as well, finding someone who both understands the data and can translate it into actual insights and potentially outcomes. That's often the bit that's missing.
Yeah, and that I really felt comfortable there. You know, I thought, okay, I found something I could do here, and we carry that into our product today. You know, that's exactly what we do today with Unheard. Is I don't want to create another data aggregation tool that pulls all your data into one place and presents to you with nice visualizations, and I don't want to create another promotional tool that allows you as an artist to have to go in and make decisions about where you should be marketing your music. I want to combine the two.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's where there's a lot of power and a lot of value.
I think that's where the magic is.
I think so. Well, I hope so.
Hope so.
Because that's where we've been focusing.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And actually, even just talking to you now and hearing about that your history and your work experience, I can see that through line of where you started and how you ideated and came up with the product. And I often think the best products are ones that come out of spotting a need or a requirement in the work that you already do.
Yeah.
You know, your chance of randomly hitting on a great idea in an industry you don't know is very unlikely in founder startup world. But when you have those insights and you can turn that into something, that's usually when you get that fit.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because I don't know about you, but I always wanted to start my own business, you know, and I was always kind of frustrated that I hadn't done it by the age of 21 or 22, you know, and I was like, you see all these like young kids who've started businesses and live in Dubai and do their thing, and that was just not happening for me. And then I think you realise when you get there is there's a reason why it hasn't happened. You know, you've got to live through certain experiences to develop a knowledge base and you know, an understanding of the market. It doesn't just happen.
Well,
like that.
I love that you thought you should have set up a business by 21. I didn't start till I was 37. And I remember the incubator I was at the time saying our average age of founder is 27. So I was like, great, already 10 years older than everyone else here. So I always found that a bit weird. But also, I never had like I really want to run my own business. I was always quite happy working for other people.
Yeah.
I never had that pull.
Yeah.
Maybe now I do.
I think that's, do you know what is, I was always really comfortable in working for someone else.
Yeah.
But my mum once said to me, she said, you'll never make £1 million working for someone else. And I don't know why, but it just stuck with me.
Were you thinking, I'd quite like £1 million?
Yeah. So that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And
well, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. And I think that just stuck with me. And I tried little things when I was growing up. Like I remember I loved playing football. And so what I did was I went onto a football boot website.
Yeah.
I downloaded all the images of the football boots, downloaded all the prices, and I built them on my own website, which is basically a Google sheet. All the prices, you could click buy now, and it just linked into the other website. So it was like an affiliate type thing. So I always had like this tinkering.
Did you make any money from the
no, nothing.
football boots?
No, nothing.
You just sold them for the same price.
Yeah, they just went straight in. I linked them out back to the platform.
Right, okay.
So I was always tinkering around with little things like that. So I think I just wanted to start my own thing.
Yeah, I did. I read a really interesting founder deck the other day, and this founder, again, very young, and they said, I've always been entrepreneurial. Whilst I was at university, and they went to one of the top two, Oxford or Cambridge, I can't remember, they set up their own tuxedo rental business. Wow. And I thought to this chap, you and I have very different life experiences. But there's obviously a market.
Yeah, you mean you don't wear a tuxedo at the weekend?
Have never needed to rent one, have never worn one, have never had anyone ask me if I know.
Yeah.
Now I know. So I guess, he was pulling from experience. Yeah. I guess when they go to all their sort of dues that they have, they all wear tuxes.
And I love that spirit.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's something to be said for people giving it a go.
Yeah.
You know, because it is really hard. Like, if you want to start your own thing, it's challenging, right? And
anyone who even starts something, I think the level of sort of confidence and bravery and just get up and go to get something out the door, to get a website up, to come up with the name or whatever it is, it's not everyone has that.
And I don't love the fact that like it's glorified. You know, like, in the sense that you see people saying founders are the future, or, you should go and start your own business. It's great fun. You'd make loads of, because like, actually it's not for everyone. And for a lot of people, working a 9 to 5 is perfect for them, and they should be very proud of that. And that's what they should go and do. Like, running a startup, I would not recommend that to most people. To most people. Because you don't sleep much, you have no work-life balance, like all this sort of stuff. So,
well, actually, during our darkest days, Aaron and I, my co-founder, we would just be walking out to get a coffee in Singapore, and I'd go, just imagine getting a regular paycheck by someone else who just sends you money. Wouldn't that be great? Because just when it's bad, it's worse than you can imagine.
Yeah, it's tough, but equally, for some, for me, it makes me feel alive. And I feel so lucky to be going through this experience, because I need to always be on the go. Again, like probably similar to yourself, need to always be doing something, always be on the go, always have a little bit of pressure there. Otherwise, I'd struggle, I think, going back into working for someone else now. Unless it was, a job that was suitable, but. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you did touch on just previously about getting a little bit nervous doing public speaking just a few minutes before. Well, we can't forget the biggest platform that the founder has out there, Dragon's Den. How nervous were you going into that? TV?
I was nervous.
Yeah, I think even I would be. I know I said I did a room of 500 in Edinburgh, but I think TV maybe that's what would push me over the edge.
And you know what? I was nervous before I went on because of it was Dragon's Den and all this sort of stuff. And then when you get in there, there's loads of people in the room that are obviously behind the camera.
Because it looks so empty on the screen, like you're up there on your own.
It does. And it looks so empty, but you get in there and there's like all these sound engineers and producers and people behind a wall with a camera.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh my God, there's loads of people in here. And so, but I never really wanted to go on Dragon's Den necessarily, because we'd already raised a bit more money than typically people would raise on Dragon's Den at a slightly different valuation. But to your point, in the darkest days, is like we were struggling. We were really struggling, and we had to go and find other ways to raise capital. And I was like, I'm just going to apply. I think it was like 8 o'clock. I was at Talyard in the office in the evening. So I'm just going to do it.
Right.
So just applied, and 4 weeks later, we were on the show, or 6 weeks later. And one of the biggest things from that was, when I launched Unheard, I wanted to give artists an opportunity.
Yep.
And we had the opportunity to take an artist who then performed before I did my pitch.
Yeah, I remember this from the clip, yeah.
And, for me, that was the highlight, because it's like...
Get you on TV.
This is exactly what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant. And it was a really good experience. So I'm glad we did it. Our exposure, and the awareness in the UK was great afterwards. And essentially, the momentum we garnered following going on Dragon's Den allowed us to complete a fundraise, which we wanted to do.
Were any of the dragons... Because I feel like they always edit it to make it look like they're being really mean and they're like rolling their eyes. Is that a lot of clever editing, or did anyone say anything particularly mean? You don't know your numbers.
Yeah.
You don't know your business. That kind of thing.
I really made sure I knew my numbers.
Well, but yeah, I mean, if you've ever watched a programme before, you're missing a trick if you don't.
Yeah, so I knew my numbers, and that's why they didn't really show anything about our numbers, because that was fine.
They only want to show it if you've massively F it up.
You feel very vulnerable when you're watching it back, because actually Stephen Bartlett and I had some really good exchanges.
Yeah.
He didn't really buy into it.
Okay.
He thought we should be investing our time in helping artists create content. And
well, that's his wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, and my view was actually it's never been easier to create content, and good content. What you need to do is you need to create a method in which you can cut through the noise now.
Yeah.
So that was the back and forth we were having, and there were certain times where they would edit it such that he said something, and I actually did respond, but they wouldn't show my response type thing.
So it just looked like you just stood there like.
Yeah, yeah, and you see it and you go, I did say something.
I had a really good answer to that. Yeah. They've not shown it.
Yeah. But no, to be honest, they were all lovely. They were all really nice, really sweet. They gave good feedback, good critique. And I'm glad we did it. We didn't actually take the money in the end, you know, so we didn't take it.
I hope you don't mind me saying, but I dined out on LinkedIn on the fact that Peter Jones wanted to invest, but he ended up not investing, but I did.
Yeah.
So, you know, I sort of, there's very few areas of life I feel I've got one up on Peter Jones, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and again, you know, a lot goes on after the show. You know, you can kind of renegotiate a little bit.
Oh, definitely. Well, that was my first question to you as well, I think. And obviously, watching the format back and having been in a startup that's raised myself, all the questions they're asking are tied to something specific. Like that's a traction question, that's a problem solution, that's a product market fit question, or that's your revenue question. Like you can sort of, when you've done it, you like, oh, I know why they're asking that. It's sort of having done a startup, it makes more sense. Yeah,
and that's it. And I think when we just start, so we're just starting fundraising now.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still getting to grips with like my answers for questions, and you know, going through the deck enough times to make sure that I know exactly what's in there. But when we were on Dragon's Den, I was quite close to the end of an investment cycle, so I had all of that information like in my mind, which was a good thing because I had all those answers ready to go.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing now, like going out and raising again, is that it does just take, you know, 2-3 weeks and kind of 8-9 meetings before you start to get into the flow of it again.
And I think you can tell how many times someone's done a pitch by how they deliver it. The trick is to make it look like it's your first time delivering it, but you basically are almost workshopping the answers.
Yeah, exactly.
As you're doing it.
Yeah, that's completely true. And someone once said to me, who had raised a bit of money, they said that which I've started to do now, they created their list of investors and then they ranked them tier 1, 2 and 3 in terms of how relevant and aligned they were to what the startup wants to raise. And then they start at tier 3 because these are the ones that actually, you know, you're less fussed about, and if it happens, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't matter. And
also, if they're less strategically aligned, they're going to ask more difficult questions because they won't know the vertical as well.
That's true.
So it lets you practice that.
Yeah, that's true. That's
this
a good point.
person's smart, whoever they are. Yeah. Good advice.
And shout out is Roberta Luca, who started a gaming company and she's successfully exited, and now she's creating her own music.
Amazing.
She's super interesting. And then you work through to tier 2 and then tier 1. By the time you get to the tier 1, so you know you're really important to you, you've really honed in on what you need to be saying, and you've got a good flow. I
love that. I feel like I've learned something because you went, as soon as you put the list together, I was like, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, start at the top. Start at the bottom, the other way around. I never even thought of that. At the
bottom, just to practice and get the mistakes out, you know, because like I said, I've just started pitching and I know a couple of pitches that I've done. I think I could smooth them out a little bit, you know, and I want to then work on that a bit more before I get to the people that could be great for us.
Definitely. Well, so sort of slightly moving on from Dragon's Den, but also wanted to just touch briefly on your trademark. So for anyone who doesn't know Alex or has seen Alex before, you're getting a bit of a reputation for a loud trouser.
It's funny because Willard, who obviously we both know, and you actually introduced me to Willard, Hazel, and which I'm forever grateful for. He always says trousers. He said if it doesn't work, pants. You just sell pants. You wear your pants.
Yeah. Well, if you live in America, you're going to call them pants, aren't you?
Pants. Yeah, that's what he says. But yeah, do you know what? I've always tried to. I quite like experimenting with what I wear a little bit, and always like happy to put myself out there. And I think probably on Dragon's Den I wore a yellow pair of trousers, and to a couple of conferences I wore a few funky pairs of trousers. And I've just kind of rolled with it. It's sort of become part of. I don't want to say it's a bit cringy, but like the personal brand a bit.
Well, it's good to have a trademark. I often, if I ever don't wear cowboy boots, which I'm not today, the first thing I get asked is, where are the cowboy boots?
That's your trademark.
I think there's, you know, if you look over the history of my public speaking whilst building a company, I sort of think, not deliberately, that was my trademark, but it kind of came out of, it didn't come out of me thinking, I need a trademark. It came out of me going, I love a fancy cowboy boot, but also as well, they're flat. There's no heel. So for a woman, apart from trainers, I think they're the most comfortable thing you can wear.
Yeah.
But then also they're a bit outlandish, and I just quite like that personally. So it's double edged. I don't want to be like struggling around in heels when I'm trying to do speaking events, but I want a flat shoe. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes things can get a bit dressy and you have to look like you've made a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And I don't think a trainer often, for me, works in that way.
That's true. And I've noticed you with the cowboy boots a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that is your trademark. You know, and I think the other thing about having one item of clothing which can be a bit funky is you actually don't have to worry about the rest.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, I just wear a white t-shirt or a black t-shirt and then some funky trousers, and you don't even have to spend time going, oh, what t-shirt am I going to wear today?
The only downside on it is when I've done interviews where they pop you behind a desk or they only shoot you from like the waist up.
Yeah.
And I've worn the most outrageous pair of shoes and all black otherwise. And then it looks like...
Could you not?
Sometimes, you know, and I always sneak that in at the end, get a little whatever. But yeah, you know, I sort of want to say to them, you've missed a trick here.
Could kind of take it off and like put it on the desk or something and say, just like, you know, this is my trademark. This is what people know me for.
Exactly, yeah. If I ever get invited on some sort of like marketing podcast, I'll insist.
Yeah, but do you know what is there's a brand called Lazy Oaf, which is where I get a few of my trousers. They're great. And I actually emailed them before I went on Dragon's Den because I was like, didn't want anything. I was just like, just to let you know, I'm going to wear some Lazy Oaf pants. I'm going to be on BBC, whatever. Nothing back.
Nothing back.
And I've bought from them since. I'm a very loyal follower of theirs.
Yeah.
But just in case they watch this.
Just in case they watch, I'm going to send it to them.
Yeah.
But also, it does just make you think. Sometimes with that, I always assume best intentions. And in my own head, I like to go, they didn't get that email. It's gone into spam, or the person who deals with them was off that week. They weren't very well. I always like to give people the benefit.
And they've been very focused on their product, I would say.
Yeah.
Their product looks great, continually improving. Yeah. So don't worry about me, guys.
Yeah. Don't worry. I've had a few things from there as well.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I've had a few things from there. I like it. But I just like slightly outrageous things.
Yeah.
I don't know why. For me, they're just more interesting.
I think so. I think you can get away with one or two outrageous things on you each day.
Right.
You know, and I think...
Do you think you can go too far?
Yeah.
Like a big hat or something?
I would never say that... It depends how you feel when you're wearing it, I think.
Right.
You know, I think like when sometimes I see people wearing outrageous things, I'm like, you're rocking that. You know, and obviously they're feeling it as well. You know, they're feeling like this really works for me. Yeah. And I'm all for that. But if you're wearing, you know, if I was to be wearing a big furry hat, I'd probably feel a bit uncomfortable and I'd be like, I've gone too far today.
You just reminded me of something. I saw the artist, the UK artist Richard Carter. I saw him at a launch event a couple of weeks ago at Cube.
Yeah.
And he had a big fake fur coat on with a Care Bears backpack. And I just thought, that looks boss.
He's great.
And I recognised him straight away because of the outfit, because he's known for his... So I think it's a thing.
Yeah, he's great. We did some stuff with him as well, and he's so talented in front of the camera.
Yeah.
He creates amazing content literally from his bedroom. You know, so creative.
Yeah. I actually ran into him at the Youth Music Awards. That's how I first found out about him. And he was performing. And everyone who performed, you know, when I saw them, I was generally blown away by the quality. I was just like adding everyone on Instagram, just follow.
He's great,
super impressed.
Yeah, great content.
Yeah. So is this the type of artist you're working with at Unheard?
Yeah, interestingly, you know, we've now got 115,000 artists who have used the product, which is amazing. Typically, they sit in that independent early stage of their career from releasing their first track up to maybe 50 to 100,000 monthly listeners. Those guys are using the platform, you know, they're self-serving, they're pitching to playlists, running ads, doing everything that you can do on the platform. And then we do work with some much bigger artists too. I'll say it because this will come out afterwards, but we're looking at... No, I won't say it. Sorry. But much bigger artists as well, which is great. And so we do cater to the full spectrum. There's obviously a difference in what each of these artists is looking for. Yeah. And so we adjust our offering at each stage. But yeah, really the full spectrum of artists.
Nice. And speaking of sort of offering that adjustment at each stage, I know when we sort of first met, one of the challenges was what happens when an artist is so new that... You know, they could theoretically use the pitch to playlist function in Unheard, but they're not there yet. Yeah. And there's various other things that they need to do for their profiles, for their sound. So what, a bit of a leading question, but like, how are you addressing this space?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things really. One is our product in January will look a lot different to our product now. So there's a big UX refactor going on at the moment, which is really based around a calendar type view. So you set your next release date, which might be in a month's time. And then what we do is we serve you with a couple of tasks each day in your calendar that you can carry out to prepare for that release. So if it's your first release, the recommendations we'll give to you will be all around making sure you've got a well-written Spotify bio. You know, have you got a YouTube platform set up correctly? Have you got a link in bio on Instagram? All these types of things that actually prepare you to make sure that you're ready to release that first track. I feel like sitting in that preparatory phase for artists can be frustrating, but is so often overlooked.
Yep.
And it's so valuable.
Yep.
You know, when artists sit in that preparatory phase, ultimately their promotion is more effective because they got better quality content, they got better quality profile.
And you can't really skip that first phase.
You can't, but artists do all the time.
Well, yeah, of course.
You know, so many times do we see an artist promoting their music and their profile picture on Spotify is their album artwork, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, guys, just sit in that preparatory phase.
Yeah.
If you're going to invest marketing dollars, make sure that they're going to be spent wisely, you know, and deliver a return.
Because that's it. Because if the money isn't being spent wisely, they're not going to see the output and they're not going to get the results they want.
No, and then they're going to be frustrated with our product.
Yeah.
You know, and so we do see that, and so we do a lot of work to try and offset those frustrations, encouraging artists to spend time in that preparatory phase.
Yeah.
I think other things you could do as an artist releasing your first track is you could look at artists that you aspire to be like or have a similar audience to you, who are a year down the line or 3 years down the line, you know, and do a bit of analysis. Like we do this all the time for artists, where we'll find an artist who's a year ahead, 3 years and 5 years ahead. We'll pull out their audience. We'll pull out what worked for them along their journey. So specific performances, specific regions of fans. And then you can build a plan to, you know, try and get to those sorts of levels. So use other artists as a proxy to determine what you should be doing. And
are you seeing any one particular genre or type of artist? Because I know obviously there's hip hop, electronic music, but even like the solo female singer songwriter is obviously huge in the charts. How does it skew on Unheard? Yeah,
so we skew hip hop.
Yeah.
And R&B. And that's happened organically. You know, we haven't really pushed into any genre. I think it's because we worked with some big hip hop artists right at the start of our journey. And so people in that community kind of saw we were doing that and lent into us. But the other genres are growing quickly too. So electronic music is quite big. Indie rock is quite big. Alternative, neoclassical music. You know, we're really agnostic in that sense. So, but we skew slightly hip hop.
Nice.
I said to our designer, actually, I was like, what if we just change our branding to like bright colours and yellows and pinks and things like that? Like, what sort of impact will that have? We're not going to do that, but you know, we're constantly thinking about ways in which the aesthetic of our product can better reflect our community, I think.
Right. I think it's pretty solid, and you can't go wrong with black and white.
That's true.
You know, so it's very neutral. Everyone likes that.
Yeah.
So something else I wanted to ask you as well about was analytics. So I know we talked a little bit before about you working in analytics, but what do you feel like, and I think this is a great question for the artists on SoundCloud, what are artists missing, or what are they looking for the most?
It's a great question. You know, we see so often artists coming to us and all they care about is week one streams. You know, and that's all they want to talk about is how can I get 1 million streams in week one, right? And of course you can build a strategy for that, but actually that isn't a good way to build a sustainable career as an artist. You know, what you really want to be doing is taking a step back and thinking about revenue. You know, and we say to artists, the challenge back to artists when they say to us, how can I get 1 million streams in week one, is actually, why don't you think about how can you generate $50,000 this year, you know, or $100,000 this year? And immediately you see the artist kind of fall back and start thinking creatively again.
Yeah.
You know, because it moves away from you just pitching to playlists or just running some ads on TikTok to drive consumption. You move into a place where you can come up with some blue sky thoughts, and you can go and like perform live at your local area, or you can run a competition to build your email database, or you can create a Discord community, and you know, you start to get really, really creative. So what we're saying to artists now is stop thinking about week one streams. Start thinking about generating a sustainable bit of revenue for a 12-month period, and it's far more effective doing it that way.
Yeah, I think it probably serves their fans better as well, because that 1 million first week, that's probably a bit of a vanity metric.
Yeah, completely. And in terms of, you know, how an artist can practically go away and do that, is things that we'd ask them to do is have a look at social media platforms or social media profiles of artists that you enjoy kind of engaging with, and then take some of the things from those profiles, build them into your day to day in terms of what works for you in terms of content creation, and then use your social media platforms as a test bed. And then what you can do is you can post 5 different types of content on your Instagram and your TikTok. Then you can look at the data and you can start to see which of those pieces of content really resonates with your potential audience. Yeah. And then you can double down on that sort of thing. So just touching on the data and insights part is, it sounds scary, but actually you can make it really simple. And there are lots of simple insights like views on your video or engagement with your video or saves on your video that you can use to then inform the type of content you could go on to create. But thinking broadly away from just streaming is really important.
And so when you get those sort of requests in from artists who are using your platform, are there any trends that they come to you looking for? Is there every artist is asking about video views, every artist is asking about... do you notice certain trends about what the demand is? Yeah,
for sure. And I think there's been a general trend, I would say, in owning your audience, which I think is great, and that's collecting email addresses, phone numbers, building your Discord or your WhatsApp community. And I think that's really powerful. And I think that absolutely should be the thing that people focus on. And other trends are, kind of other forms of media, I would say. So artists have been posting videos on social media platforms for ages now. Okay, but can you create more immersive environments, that you can invite your fans into, or worlds you can invite your fans into, and they can then engage with each other. And then that fosters another keyword like community, and there's lots of community-led platforms at the moment as well, which encourage people to interact with each other and share things, and they're rewarded for doing so for that artist. Shout out to Fave for Fans, who do an amazing job in fostering communities for artists.
Yeah, that's really interesting as well, because obviously the world of music and the world of fandom exists very differently today. Just a really fun example, I went to a show at Alexandra Palace a couple of Fridays ago, and a girl in her 20s just started chatting to me while I was eating a burrito, actually. And she just said, so how'd you get into this band? And I was like, oh, that's an interesting question. And she went, did you know they renamed the album because it came out the same year as 9/11? I went, yeah, the band's Jimmy Eat World. And I said, yeah, I did know that, actually, because, I bought the album that year. And she said, she almost couldn't believe it, because my way of getting into the band was they put out an album and I went and bought it that week. Whereas she'd gotten into them because they'd had a sync on a TV show. Okay, and that's how she first heard them. So I think the world of how you discover music and experience is different. Yeah. And I'm also very pleased that this person clearly thought I was much younger than I am, and that I couldn't possibly be old enough to have bought an album.
And I think that's a great anecdote and story to share with artists, because it shows that actually discovery is so varied. It isn't just on playlists or streaming. Yeah. It can be through a sync, or it can be actually going into a record store and flicking through and finding the vinyl that you just like the look of.
Because back when I bought that CD, there was no such thing as an algorithmic playlist. Yeah. It was probably pre-music streaming, really. Yeah. So, obviously, but then I bet there were lots of people in that room who that is how they got into this band. Yeah. Yeah. So I also wanted to sort of touch on briefly as well, in some of the questions earlier, you mentioned your mum twice. So and obviously she had the great story about you're never going to make $1 million. Is that who is the biggest influence in your life and career so far?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before. Is my mum the biggest influence on my career? I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. I mean, she's definitely a strong woman. Yeah. And she brought us up, I think, really well, and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's an internal thing.
Right. Well, if you said us, you have brothers or sisters, and are you very different?
Yeah.
Right.
Very different to my brother. He's a vicar.
You could not get more different.
Yeah. He's younger than me. He's married. He got married quite young. He's a vicar. He's doing his own thing, and that's great. And I'm doing something quite different. So we are different. Yeah, I don't know where my kind of ambition comes from. I played a lot of sport. I've talked about sport a little bit. Right. Played loads of sport, and I was always quite competitive when I was younger.
Mostly.
Football mostly. Yeah.
You are British after all.
I know. And I always had maybe that competitive edge, but was always quite quiet about it and didn't say too much. And I feel like I enjoyed that, being not the underdog, but someone who was hidden. But
actually, I did interview Paul McGregor on this podcast, ex Nottingham Forest Premier League player, and who's also now an artist. a musician, and we really dug into his background as a professional footballer. And he said, you just have to believe walking out on that pitch that you are the best, that you have that I will win. I'm hyper competitive. No one can beat me. That kind of drive, he sees it in sport and he sees it in music as well.
I think that resonates.
Yeah.
You know, I feel I have that drive now. You know, I have that drive now that I want to win, and we'll do everything we can to win. You know, and we will become the best. You know, over time. And I think you've got to be humble as well. You know, I think we're confident but humble. You know, I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think another friend of mine, George, who's a VC, I think you know George as well, he said trying to find a founder who's that exact blend of arrogance and humble, because too far either way and it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I once got told that I pitch like a European, you know, and not, you know, not an American perhaps. And it's hard, like, as a Brit to be like boisterous and, you know, we're going to do this and we're going to win and achieve it. But you think it, like, I still think that.
Yeah.
But I just struggle to then communicate that because I don't think it doesn't come across that well. Like, as a Brit, you think it doesn't come across that well.
And the feedback I've had as well about people who go over to pitch in the US, and this came directly from Entrepreneur First, the incubator that I did, which is when European and British founders pitch realistic financials and numbers, American investors translate that directly as a lack of ambition. And I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it certainly doesn't come from that place. You know, there are
not at all.
Loads of ambitious founders in Europe and the UK.
Definitely.
You know, I don't even need to say it.
But I think in the US, the culture is of pitching the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Like absolute moonshot on everything.
Yeah.
And anything less shows you're not in for it.
Yeah.
But I do think the reality of British founders is, and I've heard this about female founders as well, which is we're far more likely to pitch reality.
Yeah.
You know.
Which can still be an ambitious reality. Yeah. You know, and that's the thing. And we're redoing a few bits in our deck now to, again, like, reset that expectation to say, okay, we can achieve this. I wasn't talking about that, you know, but it's like the moonshot and we can achieve this. So I think it's just like pushing that to let people know that you do have that ambition, I think is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Good stuff. Right. Well, wanted to just touch briefly on some partnerships that you've done as well before we wrap up today. So heaps of partners: CD Baby, Beat Bread, Fiverr. Are you the one handling partnerships in house?
Well, our COO was handling them, and now they've been passed on to me. And our head of marketing does a little bit on them.
See what you're saying about that lack of work-life balance now.
Yeah, so there's a bit of that, and it's I love doing the partnerships, and I love doing them for our community. That's why we do them, you know, because Fiverr.com, we built a network of like content creators, engineers, vocalists who our community can access at a discounted rate.
Oh, I love that.
You know, and it's like, if we get to do stuff like that for our community, that is the best thing.
Yeah. I generally just love Fiverr as a platform as well. I think it's great. I think it's a really fun business.
Me too, and I've used it so many times to like knock up a quick website or do some analysis or whatever it might be. So being able to partner with them was great.
It used to be my favourite for if you've ever do a Secret Santa in the office and the budget's a £5 and you get someone random in the office, I would always just go and hire a rapper to do a freestyle about the person that I've
really
got.
Good.
Because no one wants more tat.
Yeah.
But who doesn't love a custom rap about themselves?
You've given me some ideas for Christmas.
This is a good one for the old unheard Christmas party.
That's really good. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I feel your network is so good, you might not even have to go on a Fiverr for this.
Yeah, we might be able to get an artist to do it for us. But no, that's a great idea. I'm going to take that for Christmas. But the partnerships have been great, you know, and a lot of them will come to fruition through 2025. So
brilliant.
We've done a lot of the deals. We're now looking to roll them out over the next, like post-Christmas, really. And again, we feel like they'll really serve our community well. And we want to build out that marketplace. So we are looking for new partners. And we don't necessarily double up in certain areas. So, you know, if we've got a mastering tool or a mixing tool, wouldn't necessarily want another one. You know, we want to make sure we've got the best people in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to push that side of the business.
That's exciting. Yeah. And then, so who are some artists that you might want to name drop today? Hopefully we've got them on SoundCloud. We can include all the links. But who are some artists that you're really excited about as well?
Well, that's a good question. I mean,
because I noticed when we were chatting the other day, there was a track playing and you knew the artist, you were like, I'd recognise that vocal anywhere. And I was just like, I sometimes feel a little bit separated from the world of the artist, obviously being more in the AI and tech space. So yeah, who are some exciting names for us?
Yeah, I think like Richard Carter, you know, is great. I think he's super talented. So watch this space for Richard Carter. Lizzie Esau. She's an indie rock artist who, again, you know, we worked with when she was releasing her first track, you know, and now she's touring and she's doing great things.
Oh, I love that.
So she's really cool. A young girl called Azia as well. She had a viral moment on TikTok, and since doing so has managed to capitalize on that,
Great.
you know, which is really challenging, but she's now making great moves. So those three are really exciting for me. I mean, personally, I love listening to artists like Wolf Alice as well. Like Wolf Alice is great. A little bit of hip hop music, a little bit of rap music. So yeah, but those three I would say who have used Unheard are ones to watch.
Nice. And also, last question, and I've never asked you this before, are the nails also a trademark?
I think they're becoming that, yeah.
Right, okay.
I think they're becoming that.
You can have two trademarks.
Yeah, I think so. And I started this, I think I painted my nails a little bit back at Carwow.
Back at where?
At Carwow, where I worked at the tech company.
Oh.
Not all of them, I'd paint like one or two.
Yeah,
I'm not
a
sure
pop
where,
nail.
Yeah, a pop nail. Not sure where I got it from. And then in and out, I've been painting my nails, and yeah, it's just kind of stuck, really.
I like it. It's good stuff. All right, so a fun question to kind of round us out is, if there's one thing you could change about the music industry, what would it be? It
would be the formation of a platform that is one ecosystem, so an artist doesn't need to leave it, and it facilitates music creation, mixing, mastering, distribution, promotion, monetization, payment, the full works, you know, because right now for an artist, they have to go from one tool to another. There's 25, 30 tools that they should use throughout their journey. Now, that should be in one ecosystem. So that's what I would change, and that's what we're trying to change.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Alex. It's been really fantastic to chat, and yeah, can't wait for this to go live.
Thanks, Hazel. Thank you for having me.